All right, we're going to go ahead and get kicked off today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prometheus webinar on the guide to streamline your maintenance lifecycle online. My name is Matt Gillespie, and I'm a business development representative over here at Prometheus Group. And joining me today to run the demonstration portion of the webinar is our functional consultant, Ethan Snyder, and our sales engineering manager, Derek Schickel. Thanks to everybody who is able to join us live today. We appreciate you hopping on live. But we will also have a recording after the fact to send over to those who can't make it live and for your own viewing after as well. And as we go through the demonstration portion, please feel free to ask questions using the chat function. While we may not get to those directly, we will have a Q&A portion after the fact to answer those that are coming in throughout the demonstration. I wanted to start out to briefly introduce Prometheus Group for everybody who is or is not aware of us. We are founded in 1998 over in North Carolina. Raleigh's our headquarters, but we do have a global presence in offices around the world. Our mission is to simplify and streamline enterprise asset management and optimize maintenance operations through the use of integrative and intuitive software. Our solutions have been proven at the highest level of performance in the world as well. We are very pleased to count many of the most successful asset-intensive corporations across multiple industries as partners of Prometheus Group. So I wanted to include this slide to give only a glimpse of some of the customers that trust Prometheus Group to streamline their maintenance operations. As you can see, from massive oil and gas companies like ExxonMobil to one of the largest brewing and bottling companies like Miller Coors, we're proud to not only have brought them on as customers in the first place, but for them to stay with us, which contributes to our 98% customer retention rate, and while we have over 1,500 successful global implementations. So to bring everything full circle on the Prometheus platform, here are the 6 modules of the Prometheus platform that can help you achieve those industry standard goals in all areas of plant maintenance. Today we're going to be going through the planning and scheduling module of our platform, which is a good place to start, but keep in mind we have all of these other modules that will help facilitate improvements in mobility so your techs can view work, create notifications in the field. We have a work safety and permitting module, an analytics module that will allow you to view KPIs and real-time data, a turnaround and outage management module, and a master data governance module that will ensure data integrity within your ERP system. The Prometheus platform is a gateway for information to flow from different groups in your organization to your ERP system and keeping a single source of truth while offering unparalleled integration between the different modules of our platform. For the past few years, our SAP ERP Advanced package has been the core of our business, but as we grew, we saw many opportunities to move outside of our niche in SAP and start working with other ERP, EAMs, and CMMS solutions. To achieve this goal, we decided to build the best functionality of our SAP ERP Advanced solution and put this on the web. This module in the Prometheus platform is now called Prometheus Platform Planning and Scheduling. This integration allows customers to make a business-wide decision for software standards. You don't need to separate applications to support your different groups. And IT also typically wants to get rid of the GUI and move to the cloud. Prometheus can support this as well. That is the Prometheus difference. So the products within our planning and scheduling module include the scheduler, which will allow you to take control of your planned work with an easy-to-use graphical scheduler that includes mass change to quickly update multiple work orders all at once. The navigator will help you transform your SAP favorites list to a custom layout with built-in variants that will allow you to navigate your workflow progress more efficiently. The work package manager will receive all of the shop papers and documents needed to create your work packages. The order to task list and order to BOM will streamline your order planning by copying work orders to task lists and BOMs for future use. The material shopping cart will help you save time finding parts and reduce free text spending with this easy-to-use Google-like search functionality. And our order planner will optimize your work order planning that takes you out of the GUI and onto the platform when you're planning your work. Now, some of the key benefits associated with all of these solutions are the visual layout. So the scheduler's graphical design and the ability to lay out maintenance work visually helps users see the work and plan it. This visibility allows schedulers to make better scheduling decisions that improve efficiency, resource utilization, and ultimately wrench time. So standardizing work planning. This can eliminate individual workflows and processes that are not consistent across the business. And we can build role-based navigations that will follow a specific workflow to align your users. Now, in streamlining planning and scheduling tasks, we realize other CMMS systems can be clunky, making it time-consuming, repetitive, and frustrating to complete simple tasks. So, simplified search screens allow for less cumbersome or daunting selection screens and quick text searches on any field to make it easy to pinpoint any data. We also have quick, easy drag-and-drop functionalities for grouping and sorting. This also helps greatly with increasing user adoption. You can update your graphics for however you imagine for a modern look and feel. We simplify the user interactions and make it easier and faster to use, as well as not only that, but learn, train, and roll this out to new users. A lot of this is also the ease of access. You can have individual browser links for specific schedules or any other aspects of the solution. And to harp on integration once again, a huge point of this is it integrates with our Prometheus platform. So the Prometheus platform, the planning and scheduling module, can scale with your business as well and integrate with our other modules of the platform. As far as performance and functional advantages, some performance improvements that we found for a lot of our customers currently using this are accessing the data directly, which gives you opportunities to improve on the performance and also allow easier updates. Some benefits associated with hosting this is it's flexible on growing with you and accounting for the fluctuating bandwidth demands. Once again, it's easier to perform these updates, and I really want to harp on that there are no major capital expenditures associated with this as well, like additional servers, cooling, and with that, there is still the option to host on-premise like some of our customers do. Now that I've had a chance to run through a few main points, I'm going to hand it over to Easton for the live demonstration portion of our webinar. Easton.
Hey guys, my name is Easton Snyder. I'm the functional consultant here. Going to be demonstrating to you guys today our planning and scheduling module of our Prometheus Group platform. So for those of you who have used our SAP ERPA solution before, you might notice a very familiar look and feel. This is a web-based solution with a lot of the same functionality that we're pulling over from some of our past solutions. This navigator, for instance, still has all the same ability of everything we've done before, as well as some new advanced functionality on it. I'm capable of loading up any kind of transaction code in the background. This specifically is going to link to SAP. We do have the ability to link to other CMMSs such as Maximo, while skipping the selection screen or in Maximo, the search QE, and actually allowing you to see that data and see all the information you need to with one single click. As Matt mentioned, you can create any kind of navigator by trade. This is going to allow for any kind of backfill work. If one day one of my other planning colleagues is not in, I could go into his navigator, use all of his current roles, all of his variants, and go ahead and fill out some of his work for him while he's on vacation. This is also going to allow you guys to standardize your workflow process. If you create one for a technician, you're going to allow this technician to get in and out of the interface as quickly as possible in order to increase their wrench time. And they're not going to have to know any kind of SAP speak. It's all going to be in words that they'll be able to understand. For instance, create notification rather than having a T code there. Being that this navigator is going to be your home base, you will need to be able to select other things from it. You can pull up any kind of desktop application from this navigator, any kind of URL links such as a Google search, or any of our other Prometheus Group solutions. So as I mentioned, this does drive a standardized workflow process. Once I've went ahead and created my notification, and I've created my work order, I might want to go ahead and start scheduling that work order. To do that, I can simply click on the button, and it's going to load up a very simple and easy to use selection screen.
And something to mention about that navigator is, we talk a lot about SAP and transaction codes, but as both Matt and Easton have mentioned, that this also works with Maximo. So think about sites where you have plenty of customers that are utilizing multiple CMMSs across different sites. Mergers and acquisitions take place and different software solutions come into place. This is a great way with the navigator to standardize business processes throughout multiple CMMSs and have the same look and feel from user to user, from site to site.
That's exactly right. One of the things here that you'll notice about the selection screen compared to most CMMSs is it's a lot more condensed and confined. I'm not going to have a long list of blank fields that I'm not utilizing. I'm only going to be searching for, in this case, the 4 fields that I need to look through. If I don't see a field in here that I absolutely need, I can quickly find it by typing it in and adding it to that search field category. You have the ability to use any kind of Boolean operator to narrow down and search more effectively, and I can include or exclude any field with a quick toggle of a button. A lot of the questions we get asked is, how are you able to allow for contractors to view this information quickly and easily? Well, to do that on this web solution, we can utilize the variants and set permissions for specific people. I can quickly search through any variant, whether I'm going to be doing backfill work or in some of Derek's variants. I can pull up his information by searching through his username, the variant name, or the variant description. To handle those contractors, for instance, if they needed to see my print screen, I can go ahead and modify their permissions to allow for any of these individuals to actually have access to view this variant at any time. So once all the people are recognized, they can see my information. I'm searching through all the information I need. I can go ahead and launch this search to pull up all of those work orders associated. This is going to be the planning board of our solution. It's broken down into 4 separate quadrants. The top left is going to be a list edit screen, which is directly editable. You will see darker bars representing work order header bars and following lighter bars signifying all of the following operations. Those read directly across to a previously unattainable visual graphic of what the work order is going to be like on a timeline, with the darker bars once again being your work orders and all of the following smaller bars being your operations. My bottom left quadrant is going to be my resources. This will include any type of production resource tools you might have, any individuals or any work centers you have associated that you're searching for. Lastly, we have our capacities grid. This grid is broken down into 3 colors. Green meaning I have plenty of time left to schedule my guys, yellow meaning I'm within tolerance, and red meaning that I have overscheduled my guys. Now the first thing you might want to do when you come in here is determine if I have any overscheduled days or overscheduled work centers, and I could determine whether I'm going to pay these guys more overtime on that day, or since I have a very clear understanding of what the rest of my week's schedule looks like, I can utilize the drag and drop functionality to reschedule certain work orders. One thing I like to add is that this is happening live within the system. So I can go out to the basic start date here, and you'll see that work order is now going to start on the 5th, which is a Wednesday, which is updated live just now in the system.
And one thing that I want to take a second and mention is something our customers are realizing is that a lot of time has been spent trying to get data to this point. In our Maximo training, in our SAP training, we find that a steep learning curve is actually learning how to search in these CMMSs, in these different systems. With this, You don't need Maximo training. You don't need SAP training. You have an intuitive web-based view to get the data where you need it to be.
As I mentioned before, we do have this directly editable list screen in the top left where I can utilize any fields such as notes one or change my description. For instance, if I know I need to wait for a contractor to remove this old pump, I can simply type that in, and you'll see it saved here as well as directly next to my operation bar, making sure that it is transparent for everyone to see throughout the entire process of this work order. Now, once you've added all your notes, what you might want to do is become a little bit more flexible in this schedule. To do that, you can create relationships. Now, there's a few ways to create these relationships. You can draw them out by dragging and dropping on different fields, or you can utilize right-click functionality, which we have built into the entire planning board. Upon an intuitive right-click, you'll see a list of options that you're able to do, whether I want to open this in Planner, drill down to certain levels of my work order, or in this case, create the relationships. Now you will see I have those notes that were put in before I got here saying that these two operations can actually start at the same time. To do that, once again, remaining flexible with the sequence, I can double click on any of these relationship bars to change the relationship type. Other functionality that you're going to see within this relationships tool will be the ability to offset any of these relationships. Let's say you're waiting for any kind of concrete to dry, or you're waiting for paint to dry on some of your equipment that you guys are renovating. Once again, I can double click on that relationship bar and offset it by a certain amount of hours or days if needed. So once I've got all of my notes in here, I've got my well-built relationship status, I might want to go ahead and assign my experts to the job. Following that process, in order to do that, I can simply click on any of my work centers to expand them and see who is actually available in that work center, and I can see the hours that they have available for certain days. So let's say Frank is going to be my expert weld damage case components up here. I can drag his name up to that operation. It'll adjust his capacities accordingly, and it will put his name directly next to that operation. One problem we often hear is that HR is not going to update these individuals as quickly as they need to. For that, you can actually utilize what we call Shift Updater. So let's say I have James over here, who's going to take Thursday and Friday off this week to go on vacation with his family. I can control click on those days, once again utilizing that intuitive right-click functionality to open up our Shift Updater. It's as simple as clearing his shift and writing the reason in there if you absolutely need to. That's going to clear up his schedule so we know not to schedule him, and it's also going to readjust my capacities above for that work center.
So one thing I want to add as well is we're seeing a lot of terminology here such as work centers, relationships, operations. Maybe foreign to some solutions. As mentioned, this is an example of our SAP plant maintenance connection, but we also have the Maximo ability. So things like crews or work groups, things like instead of relationships, successors and predecessors. The terminology is going to be flexible enough to adapt to whatever CMS you're using. That's the exact goal of the Prometheus Platform, is to provide a similar look and feel while putting it all in terminology that your users are familiar with to increase that user adoption.
So we've had this really well built out schedule now. We added all the correct people to it. We've added the correct relationships and all the correct notes. What's going to happen if we have a break-in on Wednesday? Rather than having to reschedule all of this and redo these work orders, I can actually select all the work orders that will be affected by said break-in, and I can utilize the mass change dates and times functionality to where I can actually set this off to a specific start date or end date, or I can change it to by delta. Let's say I think this break-in is going to end up taking me 2 days. I can offset these work orders to make sure they're not done till 2 days later, while keeping all the same components attached to the work order needed. One thing I always like to show about this web-based planning and scheduling module is our display settings, simply because they're so user intuitive. Like Derek mentioned before, you're not going to need much training at all. You just see it and you understand exactly how it works. So you may notice I had different fields to the left and the right of some of my operations and some of my work orders. To add those, I can filter through, find the fields I want, and simply drag and drop them. If I want to group or sort any fields, it's just as easy as doing that here as well. Other super intuitive display settings will include this auto scroll functionality, which we're going to get to very shortly, and the ability to adjust those capacities. So if you want your individuals to actually turn yellow from 25% to 75%, you can adjust that accordingly here.
And the great thing about these display settings is you can truly choose how empowered your users are going to be. You may have the experienced schedulers that really want to own this for different purposes, create different display settings, different searches, and apply them to different buttons on the navigator. But you also may have, supervisors that may just be assigning individuals to work that they don't need to see all the what's underneath the hood. They just need to see the finished product, the schedule that's in a view that they can understand, and they can actually effectively perform their task and make sure that we're as efficient as possible when we're inside the system.
That's exactly right. And not everyone's going to want to see the same thing, so you can save those display settings in different ways depending on what screen you want to look at. Now, once we've made the schedule, it looks good. We have no more guys overbooked, as you can see down in the bottom right quadrant. We're going to want to go ahead and change the user status of these work orders to make sure it goes from my planning state to my scheduled state on my current schedule. To do that, I can utilize mass change functionality where you have over 140 different fields which you can change at any time. I have both at the operational level where I can change things like the operation short text, and at the order header level where I might be able to change the user status, system status, or maybe even the planning group. So what you'll see is once all of these work orders are now on my scheduled queue, I can quickly go out to a scrolling schedule. This is going to be extremely useful for putting it over your plant floor on any kind of TV. One of my past jobs, we were actually trying to get this schedule to be seen by all on the plant floor. That way, during a shutdown, turnaround, or outage, you would actually be able to know what work has to be done on any certain day. For those of you who aren't there yet, you still have the ability to actually print these schedules and hand them out on your Monday morning meetings, again, to provide that transparent communication as to the work that needs to be done. Again, this is going to be a different variant where I can quickly print out and have just the information I want my technicians to see here.
And communicating the schedule is very important because if you don't communicate the schedule, then no one will be able to adhere to it. So oftentimes we hear different departments complaining about people breaking the schedule for no reason. Well, a good first step is to communicate that schedule out. Whether it's that auto scroll with auto refresh functionality or the hard copy printout, whatever is best for your process and technology at your plant, communicating the schedule is just a click away with the Prometheus platform.
Yeah, and you can see how this one-click reporting compared to standard scheduling functionality, all in one interface on a Gantt chart view, brings you to that 80 and 90% compliance. Ideally, that's the industry standard.
Yeah, so far up to this point, we've gone over a lot of the scheduling functionality of this planning and scheduling module. We're going to take a step back and show you what we can do for planners as we want to go ahead and start creating what we like to call Prometheus planners. To do that, once again, I can utilize that right-click functionality found throughout all parts of my planning board, and I can open this up in the planners view. What you'll see here is a very condensed screen compared to something like IW32 in SAP, showing me only the fields that I really want to see, being completely configurable. I only have things like equipment shown here, my main work center, and my basic start date. 3 fields that I'm extremely interested in and want to know at all times. Following the tabs, we can jump into operations, where you can quickly see all the components that are attached to each operation. By assigning the components to the correct operation, you'll realize that you don't actually need them at a specific time. For instance, I might not need to have my pumps while I'm locking out this system. I might want to assign that to something like Operation 20. To actually search for and add materials, I can utilize Material Shopping Cart, which, as Matt mentioned in the PowerPoint, is going to provide you with a Google-like search for searching through your material master. So if I want to find something like an electrical pump, I might start off by simply typing in pump without any kind of wildcards and see what I pull up. You'll see that I actually found almost 700 results, which is going to be way too much for any of my planners to scroll through to pick out the right material. So I can narrow down that search simply by clicking space and adding in some more text that I need. So being that it's an electrical pump, I quickly wrote in pump elect, and it pulled in up to 12 results. You'll notice that these are actually looking at electrical pumps because it's going to search for both the word pump and elect in any order throughout multiple fields, including but not limited to your description, your material number, your vendor, and your long text. One of the other things you'll see is added is Realtronic, which has neither pump or elect in the description. But if I scroll out to the long text here, you will actually see that this is a wet running pump with integrated electronics. To add these parts, I can add them to what I like to call my Amazon shopping cart. So I don't know about you guys, I use way too much. But I can double click on any of these parts to add them in. If I add the wrong one, I can quickly double click to take it out as well.
And having that Google-like search not only decreases the time it takes, it also can greatly decrease your free text spending. In SAP, Maximo, other systems alike, people will oftentimes not be able to find the part that they need. They'll assume they don't have it in their material masters. They'll free text type it in, and then you go spending money shipping a part that you already have in the warehouse or expediting a part you already have. Maybe you're getting it from a vendor you haven't agreed upon price, but having that systematic, that user-friendly search, the Google-like search allows users to quickly find the parts they need, so it's faster for the user, but it's also more accurate to decrease the free text spending.
That's exactly right, and that's a big benefit a lot of our customers relay to us upon implementation. So once transferring these parts, you'll see that they're all added to the operation that I currently had selected. Another key benefit here is going to be our order to task list tool. Once I've got all the operations built in here, I might have the relationships built out. I'm going to want to make a blueprint. That way, if this job ever reoccurs again in the future, I don't have to go through the entire planning process once again. I can go up to my order to task list solution, where I can create several different types of task lists, whether that's going to be a general, equipment, or function location. And upon filling in a few required fields required by our current system that I'm demoing through, I can execute that and either last minute edit this task list or just save it directly here.
And for you Maximo users on the webinar, this might seem like a familiar concept. It is. This is nothing more than just a job plan. So again, the nomenclature, the verbiage is all specific to the CMMS. SAP calls them task lists, Maximo calls them job plans.
Yep, upon that, if you might want to see, the entire components you have selected, and for you Maximo users, create a spare parts list. For you SAP users, create a BOM off of that. You can look at all of these components and create that BOM, or once again, spare task list. You'll see here all the materials that are currently on my BOM, signified by a green check. All the parts that are about to be added, signified by a green plus, and any duplicate parts that are already on my BOM and might accidentally be added again. To remove those parts, I can control-click them and remove those from here. If I realize that, for instance, there's a part that's currently on my BOM that's no longer relevant, maybe it's the older version of a part, I can remove that as well, and it'll update my BOM live. And if for some reason I have, PPE or something like that associated to my components on the work order, I can remove that here as well. Upon saving, you'll see the BOM has been updated, and I now have all of these parts on my functional location BOM. Next thing we're going to talk about today is our Work Package Manager, or Documents tab. What this Documents tab is doing is it's pulling in all attachments associated at any level of your work order. You'll see here I have documents associated with some of those components we had selected. I have documents associated with my equipment, some technical drawings on it to make sure that my technician can understand exactly what we're looking for, as well as my notification attachments and all of my shop papers. The biggest problem with some CMMSs that we've seen is that upon trying to print out these shop papers and the notification attachments, you have to go through multiple screens. Oftentimes, the person printing isn't going to know exactly what they're supposed to print because the planner didn't tell them beforehand. Now you have these check marks signifying what's going to be printed, which the planner can actually save during his planning process. That way, when your technician or whoever is going to be printing this out, Monday morning, won't have to know what the planner wanted printed. It'll already be proven there, signified by the check marks. A big benefit here is going to be the ability to print all of these off at once. That way you're not going to have anyone's personal printed documents coming off in between some of your shop papers like we've seen in the past. I can print off all of those shop papers, telling me the date that they're printed on, as well as the work order numbers. So when you do print out multiple, you can separate those very quickly and easily to hand out to all of your technicians. That's going to conclude our planning and scheduling module of the Prometheus Group platform demonstration today. We're going to stop now for a minute and wait for any questions that you guys might have and go ahead and answer those accordingly.
Yeah, so we will look at the ones that have already come through, and if you have not asked a question or you do have one, feel free to go ahead and enter that in the chat box below.
Hey guys, so just starting to answer some of these questions. We had one question asked, do you need HR mini records in order to place someone in your work order? The answer to that is no. There are several ways around it. What we've seen some customers do is actually build out a work center hierarchy, applying multiple work centers, and some of those will be considered for your technicians.
Yeah, and to expand on that, we actually have a couple questions when it comes to capacities. Great questions. So we can utilize, standard SAP capacities. standard Maximo capacities, whether it be from an individual basis or a work center, crew, work group perspective. Pretty much, when you have a solution that is utilized by, the largest refinery in the world and a small tire plant manufacturer, having the configurability to meet these different needs is critical, and that's exactly what we've implemented in the solution. We've also done some more specific, more particular requirements where we link to outside systems. A lot of people use timekeeping systems that are outside of Maximo or outside of SAP. And now that we're on the web, we are very, very open to evaluating different options and different third-party systems, whether or not they're in your single system of record or not. So keep the questions coming. These are great.
One of the questions we were asked says, when a break-in occurs on Wednesday, would you be able to click on Wednesday at the top of the column to sort that down? We are able to filter down through many different fields. That way you can only look at certain work orders, certain days, certain work centers. And that way you won't have to do what I did in the demonstration and manually go down and look for jobs starting on Wednesday.
Good question here, taking us back to the initial portion of the demonstration, the Web Navigator, asking about admin's abilities for creating these navigators. And I think this is actually something that we want to take a show and tell of, because we want to talk about how easy it is for either end users, administrative users, or super users alike to make changes to these navigators. So we'll go ahead and get that queued up to show you live.
So you'll see here, I have the navigator, just to answer that question and show a short demonstration of it. To edit those, I can simply go into the edit mode button here, where I can add any different button that I need, add the text, whether it's a Prometheus Group solution, URL, T-code, or other navigators. If I want to go ahead and rearrange these navigators boxes, I can actually just drag and drop them to different order or different fields, or I could swap those boxes all together if I need.
Another one here about, what if we want to use this functionality in Petersburg, but other mills don't want to use that? So first of all, hello to Petersburg. Basically, there's the licensing aspect that we can talk about with your dedicated account representative, but we do have the flexibility to have this be site-based, to have this be administered to only certain users, certain groups. So we are very, very flexible with who uses this. Maybe if Petersburg is the initial site and we roll it out to more, that's absolutely how we see our customers successfully roll our solutions out.
One of the other questions we have here is, are these going to be changes made live into our CMMS system? So yes, both SAP, Maximo, and any of the other CMMSs you're using, this is actually going to integrate and talk back live to those systems. That way you always have the most up-to-date information in both your system GUI and in this web planning and scheduling module solution.
And on that same note, there's actually a related question here in some regards about screen response time. Is it better or worse than the SAP GUI? And what we actually have been able to do is, because we're making changes directly, communicating directly to SAP to the field values, for those technical folks on the call, we're using remote function calls or RFCs for SAP, REST API for Maximo. But we're able to actually increase performance in a lot of regards by taking advantage of the ability to not go through the functional transaction code, but to directly manipulate the table values in the background. That, alongside with some pretty slick browser caching. So for example, if you load one SAP or Maximo search, you have to reload it every time you want to revisit it. But the in-browser caching allows you to take advantage of previous renditions while still pulling live and affecting live SAP or Maximo data.
We were asked about some of the hardware requirements in order to utilize this solution. So there's two options that you guys can currently utilize. We can host it for you utilizing Amazon Web Services, or you can host it on your own server. And that's something that we'd scope out during some further demonstrations and upon your requirements of your company.
And we'll answer just a couple more here. Good question about budget. That's the reason we do everything is to make money. So The question is, can we show the budget, plan versus actual as the work orders are moved? If you're familiar with some functionality we have currently inside of our SAP scheduler, absolutely. You're able to switch the capacity grid on the bottom of the scheduler to dollars, and you can actually see budgets and see how that affects the budget as you move the work orders. Now, I do want to plug another area of our Prometheus platform, a solution you may not be familiar with, recently unveiled at our user conference called Abacus, and it stands for Asset Budgeting and Cost Utilization Solution. And that is a very exciting new solution that we have a couple customers using already that we'd be happy to have a separate conversation with you about to show the great strides we're making on the web while still connecting to SAP financial information. So reach out if you want to take a look at Abacus, our asset-based budgeting solution, but that is something that we'll handle in separate webinars, separate discussions, along with other solutions like our master data, like our digital permitting, and other solutions I see questions about here in the list.
So we're going to answer one or two more questions. One of the ones we were just asked is, can you load multiple work orders on that work package manager that we showed at the end with the documents tab? The answer to that is yes. You can go in through the scheduling screen, highlight all the work orders that you want to print for something like, I always use Monday morning as an example, and click on a print work package functionality via the right clicks that we showed you before.
All right, we'll do one more question here and get you guys on your way. If we didn't answer your question, we'll reach back out to you. We appreciate all the good interactivity. Last question that we'll answer is about integrating the Prometheus scheduling module with the HR module to get the names of the personnel. Absolutely. This question kind of touches on the theme of the platform, integration. Our scheduling solution to integrate with our analytics solution, with our mobile solution, having digital permitting, having your CMMS Spark permit request with the with the appropriate information. Integration is the name of the game for the Prometheus platform, and in this regards to this question and in the greater scope, integration with other solutions within the Prometheus platform and elsewhere is something that we've and with our customers have been achieving with the Prometheus platform.
All right, so that's going to conclude our webinar today. If you did submit a question that we couldn't address today or weren't able to get to, someone from Prometheus Group will be reaching out to you directly and answer that question for you. And if you didn't submit a question, but you would like to ask someone for more information, please do reach out to us directly with your representative or on our website as well. We would be glad to answer any sort of questions or hear feedback you might have. And if you do and want to see a personalized demonstration tailored to the way your plant is doing maintenance, reach out to us as well. We would be more than happy to do so. Thank you all for joining today.